the super speedway.
Bring my fucking piñata, boys! Ahora, boys! Fuck yeah! Fuck yeah! Fuck yeah!
Welcome to episode 240 of the Super Speedway Podcast, recorded Monday, June 13th, 2022. Wow, that's starting off really rough already, James.
And that's not even my fault.
I know. I'm your host, Eric Young, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush, who's already made himself heard on this podcast. James, how's it going this week?
Eric, that sound was just like when somebody speeds past you like ridiculously fast on the highway.
Yeah.
And then immediately gets stuck behind somebody and you pass them back. That's how I react right there.
Yeah.
Bleep yeah as I go by. Oh, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that audio. That was good.
I know, it's an exclusive. Well, not quite, but...
Well, yeah. Yeah, exclusive to us.
Right.
Whatever we want to do. Yeah, that's how we do it.
As my dog scratches the door trying to break into my room, I knew he was going to do it. As soon as I start talking, here he goes.
Yep.
James, Daniel Suarez is a NASCAR Cup Series winner. How do you like that?
That was pretty cool, wasn't it? I kept watching, thinking, man, I don't know what this is or what's gonna happen here, because it was, I don't know. The race was, when he took the lead, it felt like the caution was finally gonna start coming because. Right. He's one of those snake bit guys, but it didn't happen for him. He finally got it done. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's cool to see him get it done. Now, what do we got? Tyler Reddick still waiting in the wings as somebody who just can't seem to catch a break.
Yeah, he's on that list. There's a handful of others, but he's I got some things to say, I think, about that when we get to another part of the podcast. But yeah, there's a couple of guys. Harvick, had a really good run going. He seems to not be able to get the job done and's upset with his crew. And
right.
A couple of the Hendrick guys. So yeah, there's a few, but yeah, this was a long time coming. I think I saw, Eric, this is the 7th longest streak before winning your first race.
Yes, I did see that
in NASCAR history. So that's pretty cool. He was he's been hanging around for a while, man, and finally got a home. I feel like we felt this was coming at some point, though.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not one of those. It's not a surprise. Actually, with the way that Trackhouse has run this season, the way that Suarez even ran last year, I would say the only surprise is that it took this long.
Yeah.
I will argue that you and I in all our brilliance predicted that the first new winner would be Tyler Reddick.
Yep, I looked at it today.
And there's been 4 now since we made that prediction, and none of them have been Tyler Reddick.
That's true. Yep, that's true. And I thought Colleague Racing was going to be the team to watch, and that didn't pan out for me because I completely disregarded Trackhouse, just like Jeff Gluck. So
yeah, right.
I wasn't as loud wrong as Jeff, though.
Yeah,
Jeff was loud.
You can't get much louder than Jeff was. But so looking at this race, the last 20 laps or so, you've got Daniel Suarez, you got Chris Buescher, you got Michael McDowell, you got Kevin Harvick. 4 guys that no matter which of the 4 guys wins, it shakes up the playoffs.
Yes, they do.
And just, I think really surprising that this occurred. Obviously, we had trouble with both Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson, who really were the cars to beat in this thing, and they managed to beat themselves.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, no matter what happened, even if Suarez had trouble, even if we had a late race restart, it was looking pretty good that we were going to have somebody that was going to make things interesting going toward the end of the regular season.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think we're done quite yet.
I don't think so either.
Because those guys right at the bubble there, they are all guys who can win races.
Yeah,
I mean, great.
Well, we got road courses coming, so Michael McDowell, you got to count him in. Plus, we've got the Super Speedway yet. 2 if you want to count Atlanta. Chris Buescher has been threatening. I mean, he hasn't.
And he missed a race to COVID, so
right.
he's pretty much he's got to win.
Right.
I mean, all these guys got to win now, basically, at this point.
And I mean, counting Harvick out is like counting Denny Hamlin out. You just, at any point, he can just get that win.
Quite. Yeah, you can't quite, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that's really screwed everything up is we've got 4 guys below 16
right
now with Suarez's win that have bumped 4 guys who actually are having pretty good seasons right out of the way.
Yeah.
Including Eric Jones and Austin Dillon right there too. So, it's just been a wild little shakeup this season, and Denny Hamlin was laughing about a possible 17 winners. I don't know. We're threatening. This is as close as we've ever been, so we'll see.
It's not going to happen, but it could.
It could.
Yes.
It could.
It could. There's definitely.
I'm holding out hope.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely plenty of guys there that could still get a win and make it interesting. I mean, it just goes to show you what we've had the cream has started to rise to the top, but you still got guys. I mean, I wouldn't argue that Daniel Suarez again is an unlikely winner, as that team has. I mean, the team as a whole at Trackhouse has performed this year and obviously made themselves a threat. But he wasn't in the conversation yet, and now he is. So. How much, I know we do this every time we get a new winner, but I mean, does this help make the case for Trackhouse in general as a championship contender? I think, James, I already kind of consider Ross Chastain one. I know that we've gone back and forth in this podcast about it.
Yeah.
I think Chastain's a legitimate contender for the title. And I think this win for Trackhouse just solidifies that the team is ready to make a run too, don't you think?
Yeah, I still don't think this team is title ready, but they have speed, which is hard to find. So anytime you've got speed, especially with Ross is showing up every week with speed.
But the thing is so is Suarez. They've just had something go wrong every time.
Yeah, like Coda could have been Suarez's race. He could be the one with 2 wins if it flips around a little bit.
Yeah. Not to mention it's harder to get the first win than it is to get the second. So.
Sure.
Now that she got the monkey off your back, maybe it comes easier.
Yeah. I mean, Trackhouse is definitely a dynamic team. They, they seem to have the right guys in the right positions, and this might unlock something even more for them, going down the road. But you've got to feel good as a 2-car team. You've got both your guys in. It doesn't get much better than that for the rest of the season. That's I think where the strength will be. Now they've got buffer with both of their cars to really, either try to stretch out a playoff lead like Ross Chastain's trying to do here, or, work on a few things with this new car. They have a little bit more room to experiment where some teams are still chasing. You think like Stewart Haas Racing is still chasing. They've only got 2 guys in the playoffs right now. Eric Almirola is in on points. But they've got 2 guys in, and Joe Gibbs seems to be coming and going, but they've got their guys in. But this really gives Trackhouse a nice little advantage for the next few weeks as we go through this off weekend and head into the next 10 races before the playoffs.
Yeah. What do we think of Sonoma as a whole? What do we think of the race this weekend? What were your thoughts?
Well, I think the new car, which it's funny to me. It's almost like everything that was good before is bad, and everything that was bad before is good with the new car. I don't want to say this was a bad race by any means. I think this was a fine Sonoma race. Yeah. It's just that this car, I put this in the notes, but the stability of this car, it races like a road course car. So we've got, drivers that really don't have their hands full like they used to. So I think, I don't know. I think it stretches the field out a little bit, and there was some good opportunities for good racing, but we just didn't have the wild card stuff happening like we normally would at Sonoma, which is a bummer because it is one of the better tracks on the sport.
So
what did you think?
I was thinking about this today, and as I thought about it, it really, I think we're all a bunch of idiots. Because James, what have we been saying all along? We need to make the cars harder to drive. When we make the cars easier to drive, the racing sucks. We put a bunch of downforce in the car in the Gen 7 car, and it sucked. We needed to loosen them up. We need to get rid of the downforce. So what do we do with this car? We made it easier to drive on road courses and short tracks,
right,
and harder to drive on 1.5 miles.
Yeah.
What races are good and what races are bad?
I know.
It's it took us this long. How many races to figure this out?
What's old is new, and I mean, exactly. It's it's a bummer because these cars they corner so well,
right?
Now.
Well, and that's what I was thinking about. I was listening to Jeff Gluck's podcast, and they're talking about how well the cars were driving, and they drive great, and they are made for a road course. But that's the problem, is that they weren't made for a road course before, and that made them difficult.
Yep.
And that's why, Cup Series drivers could hang with road course ringers and things like that. And now they're fun to drive, which makes the racing suck from the fans' perspective.
Yeah, and they're flat out fast
Yeah.
through the corner, which explains Martinsville. I think we're starting to see we're starting to be able to answer the questions that we weren't sure about before.
Yep.
Because these cars can really hustle, and when the leader and the guy in front of you has just as good of pace as you, or is maybe even slightly slower, it's still hard to get to them and make a move.
Right.
And even if you try to use your bumper, these cars are going too fast. They are fast through the corners. Even turn 11 was fast.
Yeah, they're going fast, and they've got grip, and you can't bump somebody out of the way. Whereas on the mile and a half, they don't have any grip, and they're out of control, and it makes the racing fun.
Exactly, because they're pushed right to the ragged edge, whereas we don't have, for one, the balance of these cars is great. The tires, are optimal for what we're doing now, and we don't have as much horsepower either. With the gearbox being the way it is, and no transmission in these cars too. There's a lot of shifting's easier. There's a lot of different variables that you can go through. And start checking the boxes. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yep, that makes sense too.
And this reminded me of when they reconfigured Bristol. In theory, hey, we can race side by side here. That makes the racing better, but in reality, it doesn't work that way. And how many times did we see yesterday? Did we see cars side by side in the S's? We've never seen that before.
Yep.
And that's awesome, but it didn't lend itself to a better race.
Right, exactly.
I mean, sure, if you were sitting in the S's, I guess it probably was more exciting.
Right, and what makes road course racing good in NASCAR is the the short track aspect of it. And I think this year in NASCAR we've lost short track racing. It's just it's a very it's just gone. We don't have any resemblance of any short tracks right now with what we've had so far. So that will be, I think, NASCAR's biggest hurdle, I guess, going into next year, because I don't think we're going to fix it this year. I know we're trying to do things, but I think we're stuck with what we've got here for a little while.
I mean, maybe it's not a problem, James. Maybe, we started closing down mile and a half tracks, and we're trying to race on tracks that maybe aren't as fit for, Cup Series racing. Maybe we just need to go back to the old model and just race where the car works, and maybe run a fewer road courses and not worry about adding short tracks now, and just go back to the
street courses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, street courses. That worries me even more now, watching these last couple road course races, and what's going to happen when you put them on a street. I mean, open Chicagoland back up, open Kentucky back up, get a cup race at Iowa. Let's run some races at these tracks that are already built. And
I think I am still optimistic that Bristol will be good because of how fast we go through the corners there. Like, I haven't given up hope on certain things, but we really got to take a look at like Martinsville and a few other places. But yeah, absolutely, I agree. I mean, we've got
or try what Kyle Busch says and just rip all the freaking underbody stuff off and race them and see if that helps.
Yeah, exactly. If it's not mandatory to have them on there for those races, let's give it a try.
Yeah, let's take it off and see if the cars handle like we want them to handle. And hey, the teams will be happy because they're not spending money on those parts for those particular races. So
yeah, exactly.
Eric, I think too, and they mentioned this in Gluck's podcast today too, or this week too. These road courses just have not been the same since we added stage racing, and
I was just going to talk about that. That was kind of where I was going.
Yeah, because that's been big proponent of stage racing. It just does not work well on a road course because road courses are so much about strategy, and now your strategy is you're either going to win the stages or you're going to go to win the race. You can't do both. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kyle Larson did both last year here and tried it again here this week. And, it might have worked if he didn't lose the tire, but.
And Fox did a bad job there because I saw it I don't know if you noticed this too, Eric, but when he was leaving pit road, you could tell something was wrong with the car.
Yeah.
And I mean, not 5 seconds later, they had to cut to his tire flying off. I'm like, oh, that's Kyle Larson. I knew exactly what happened.
There was also the overhead shot where you got to see Cole Custer start to spin, and then they cut away from it and never mentioned his spin in turn 11. Which is the only spot of the track, by the way, that the broadcasters can actually see from the booth. at
Right.
Sonoma, so they should have had a plain view of all the smoke.
Yeah,
But
you gotta love that we're going to NBC for
Yeah.
the foreseeable future.
yeah, I'm not going to complain until we get there, and then I have something to bitch about there too, I'm sure. So,
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
but
Yeah, I was going to talk to you about that though, Eric. That was seriously a thought that I had too, because you were early on the stage racing thing. I was a
Yeah.
little more open to seeing what stages could do, but I'm fully on your side now with either just run the green flag laps as they are and just call the stages when they are and let the cars keep running, or get rid of them
yeah.
at the road courses.
Yeah,
Or,
I
don't
think
know.
road courses and maybe even super speedways need to be looked at. I think we've made the super speedways work, I think, though, but we just lose so
Yeah.
much strategy on the road courses. And James, I mean, shoot, we run 4 stages at Charlotte for the 600. Maybe we just don't run stages for the road courses and
Yeah.
and don't award points in the middle of the race. Maybe we don't need that in a road course race. I don't know about you. I watched the Road America race, the IndyCar race this weekend,
Mhm.
and it was terrific because of the strategy.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a bunch of cautions. They did have some at the end though, which made it interesting at the
Yeah.
very end of the race. But yeah, I mean,
Another idea I had too was bunch the stages up early.
Yeah.
And let that third stage be really long.
Yeah.
That's another idea. Awarding points for really short sprints maybe not be the best thing, but
anytime you don't have to pit during a stage, you
Right.
remove all the strategy from it.
right.
You
Right.
know?
So I was thinking like run 2 15-lap stages here at Sonoma and then let them figure it out how to run to the finish. Make that last stage long
Right.
would be
And
an idea.
see, I think the shorter stages work in the Xfinity and the Truck Series because you don't
Mhm.
really expect to have a lot of green flag pit stops in those series. That's kind of where everybody's learning and whatnot.
Yes.
But
yeah.
green flag pit stops is part of the Cup Series, and
Yep.
I mean we haven't had much of that this year anyway, with all the accidents and cautions that we've had.
Yep.
But it's certainly something that we want on a road course, and we just aren't getting it. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think we need to throw everything out and completely start over, but I think all those things contributed this weekend to I'll say it's a subpar race. It wasn't a terrible race. It's nothing to cry about. It wasn't Richmond. It wasn't,
Yeah.
it wasn't Texas. But it wasn't a barn burner either. But then again, I mean, Sonoma really hasn't been for a few years, and it's been really a while since we've had a really spectacular all the way through race at Sonoma. So
They should
I
have
don't
left the
know.
bump in the chute. That's what I think.
yeah, I'm
Leave a
with you
wild
there.
card in
I felt like we lost a lot with that. Yeah, we
car's
had
not
probably,
banging off that curve going into the chute was pretty disappointing.
we
I
probably
guess.
would have
But
broken
Larson made it interesting.
Yeah.
a couple times.
probably
yeah.
would have broken about 3/4 of the field if we would have had that
Oh my God,
bump in there.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so Kyle Larson's crew chief and a couple of his crew members are going to get a 4-week vacation.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, James,
It's so severe,
well,
but it
it
is
needs
what it
to
is,
be,
man.
but I'll tell you what, it's not working. So what do we got to do? I mean, like I
know,
said, I
man.
just watched the IndyCar race, and they change tires, and they never lose a wheel. And
I
part of it, I think, is because in IndyCar pits, everybody's stationary.
yeah.
So they don't have to chase the car. They don't have to run around the car. Everybody's there. And I don't want to change the way we do a NASCAR pit stop any more than we already have.
Yeah.
But man, it's just something's going to happen. A tire's going to come off wrong. And
Well, even Chase Elliott, like that was a
Yeah.
really severe penalty for pitting outside the box after he had to come back, and dang it, just back up another 3 feet and you're fine.
right.
But
Yeah, because he
man,
lost the
that's
stage
just-
points and he lost or had to go
Yeah,
to
I thought, man, well, they avoid the 4-week suspension, but that was such a severe penalty for them to have to even come back down. I was like, man, these crews got to get these tires on. I don't know. Gosh, it's gonna happen. You know what's gonna end up happening is a contender's gonna have it happen like the week before the championship race or something
Yeah.
silly. And it's. Whew, I don't know. I wish we could take it on a case by case basis, but you really can't do that.
No.
It's a ball or a strike call, right? That's what we
Yeah,
want.
there's enough of those,
There's too much interpretation in the
Yeah.
rules as it is. So,
exactly.
yeah, I mean it's a bummer for those guys, but Cliff's gonna be working.
Well, that's the thing
He's
is
just not gonna be on the box.
the only thing is he's just not going to be sitting in the pit box. He's going to be he'll be at the track in the parking lot with a radio. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole suspension thing is such a joke anyway.
Or the command center at Hendrick, whatever
Right.
they got going on.
Yeah. We mentioned cars being more stable. Maybe not so for AJ Allmendinger with no power steering throughout the race.
Oh God!
Shout out to him for a 19th place finish and better than
he
that.
almost, he saved my fantasy day and killed me at the end because I had him on my. I put him in late. And then he spun there with 2 laps to go.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you get all the way through these road course races and you spin in the last lap. What is going on, man?
Yeah, he was doing so well for fighting that. I mean,
yeah, that's a horrible thing to happen at Sonoma of all places too. But he looked good. He was up in line for a top 10 finish there until it wasn't. But
and then snake bit Bubba Wallace blows the motor.
Dude, that was I had not seen fluid pouring out of the tailpipes quite like that before.
That was a kaboom.
Yeah, I feel you get, especially when it's not the driver really the team's fault when something like that happens.
Yeah.
It's just a snake bit kaboom.
Yeah.
Reddick,
first thing I think when that happens though is that sequential shifter and like, did he screw up a shift somewhere?
Yeah,
but it didn't look like he did where he was at.
Yeah, and like I think Tony said on the broadcast, maybe that's something that happens in practice too. You miss a shift, you don't even realize it, and it's already damaged. So
yeah. Speaking of Tony, Tony did a great job filling in for Clint Boyer this weekend.
Oh God, yeah, he was good. He was really good on Sunday.
Well, I guess technically it was it Tony? Tony was scheduled to be there, right?
He was going to be in the booth.
Yeah, so Larry Mack really filled in for Clint Boyer, but they did a good job, the 3 of them.
Yeah,
so.
That was a really good. I'm glad you brought that up because I laughed when he was frustrated with Ross Chastain.
Yeah,
I said, "There's our synergy. There's me and Smoke right there." Because But he made a good point, and Eric, I haven't heard a broadcaster do that before, where they were like audibly frustrated when he just let out that big sigh with Ross blocking, and I'm just like, man, that's what I feel like we do need more of.
Yeah.
From the booth, we just never get that.
That's
all sports.
He's
honestly.
so low key in the booth though. Like he's not a low key dude, but in the booth, he's just like, even when he's talking to Denny to start, during the pace laps, he's just so quiet, and it's like, that Tony, that's not you, man. I want the guy that's calling for the figure 8 at Talladega, on the broadcast.
I feel like he definitely got more comfortable though when he started doing that. He was definitely, this would have been his 4th race of the season with Fox. So yeah, the comfort was a little bit higher for him.
Yep, definitely.
And Clint not being there next to him, I wonder if that freed him up a little bit.
I enjoyed hearing him when Harvick's team had their problem too, because he was very frustrated over that too.
I mean, he screamed at Ross about blocking and then just running a fast. You know how you just run a faster lap. And I'm like, yes, this is all I've been.
You were mentioning Tyler Reddick too.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, and I was gonna say, shout out really quick to Clint Boyer. Hopefully everything's okay. That was a personal matter there, but yeah, it sucks he had to miss his last race. But yeah, I was mentioning Reddick, because that was another point of the race where Fox, I feel like, missed something because I had him in my fantasy lineup, so I was watching him and he was going really slow at the end of stage 2, and I benched him really quick because I'm like, something doesn't look right. And nothing was said until, of course, he wrecked at the beginning of stage 3, which was, the end of that, but pretty much the end of his day, and something was broke. So anyway, that was just another guy. We mentioned it earlier, but just a snake bit, tough.
Yeah.
Just a tough run for Tyler. But
Kyle Busch, 30th place finish. Very uncharacteristic of him at a road course.
Yeah, Hamlin, Busch, those guys, especially after Kyle spun. Truex too.
Yeah, Truex.
They all pitted late to hope. Yeah, I think they were hoping for a late caution. They were just kind of throwing their hands up at what they had. Yeah, that was a weird day for all those guys. Denny was really pretty much out to lunch for the most part too at that point in the race.
Yeah, field really got flipped, like I said, especially with the Hendrick issues on the pit stops.
Yeah, and you've got guys, sacrificing stage points. Like Joey Logano was just handed stage 2, and basically they weren't going to win the race. Took the 10 points. You look at where he finished 17th. He had 39 points. That was good for I think he was top 5 points on the day, or top 10 at least points on the day from all drivers. So he was 4th in the race in points total. So you think about that, you finished 17th, you had a really good day.
Yeah.
Think of it that way.
Yep. So Daniel Suarez gets his first victory in 195 Cup Series starts, smashes the taco piñata.
He punched a hole right in that bad boy.
Yep. Well, tried to run it over, but that didn't work out so well.
That didn't work out so well.
It's his fifth top 10 finish in 2022. And it's his first top 10 finish in 5 races at Sonoma Raceway. Austin Cindric in 5th place was the highest finishing rookie on the day. Let's see. Daniel Suarez joins Juan Pablo Montoya as the second driver to win his first career Cup Series race at Sonoma. He becomes the first driver from Mexico to win in the NASCAR Cup Series. He becomes the 5th different driver all-time not from the United States to win a NASCAR Cup Series race. He joins Marcus Ambrose, Juan Pablo Montoya, Earl Ross, and Mario Andretti. Of the 12 different race winners this season, 4 are first-time NASCAR Cup Series winners. We mentioned that. Austin Cindric, Chase Briscoe, Ross Chastain, and Daniel Suarez are those 4. And Trackhouse Racing's 3rd victory in the Cup Series, and 6 different manufacturers have won in the NASCAR Cup Series at Sonoma Raceway now, led by Chevrolet with 13 victories, Ford with 8, Toyota with 5, Dodge with 3, Pontiac with 2, and Buick with 1.
The old Buick, yes.
Yep. I believe that was the 26 car, was it not? I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Eric, what a journey for Ross Ross Chastain too, but
right.
Daniel Suarez, what a journey.
Yeah.
From being tapped maybe a year too early for the 19.
Definitely a year too early for the 19.
And then given up on quickly when obviously Joe Gibbs played a little bit of a game there and got Truex into that seat, and then obviously Stewart-Haas Racing did kind of the same. And Eric, he was at Gaunt Brothers Racing,
right.
and that looked like the end for Daniel Suarez.
Yep.
And somehow found himself on this Trackhouse team, and it's just an incredible story.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Very proud.
And I think, a very popular win. They mentioned during the Fox broadcast, there's probably nobody in the Cup Garage that doesn't like Daniel Suarez. I think fan-wise, I think he's got a lot of fan support as well. Obviously, he's got Daniel's Amigos at every race.
They were pumped in the stands, too.
Man. They were
really cool.
Cheering the last 20 laps or so. Every time he went by, it was pretty cool. So
yeah,
good for Daniel. Nice to see him in the race win list. And I think there's going to be some more coming, especially running for this Trackhouse team. And I know that they were slighted a bit, having Ross get those 2 wins before they did. But Daniel's able to get it done now. And like I said, I think there's a lot more to come. This team's gonna be a standing point for a while here in the Cup Series, I think.
Yeah, and I thought that was so cool that Justin Marks even acknowledged that, because most owners would say, they've been fine, right? They wouldn't even mention it. But that was really and full blown honesty. I loved that from them. And Daniel Suarez, he's a big part of the reason that team is having success.
Oh yeah.
They brought him in on a flyer, and he showed speed early last year, and definitely that team had potential, enough so that they were able to, purchase Chip Ganassi Racing, and look at him go. I mean, that team is really strong. So really cool. Eric, one more team I wanted to shout out. We didn't mention them yet, but we really should. Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. Chris Buescher really that was a great effort from Chris. And then when is the last time you saw Brad Keselowski running top 5 at a road course? Because that just never happens. He ended up 10th, but that was a strong day for RFK. I did not expect to see those guys anywhere near the top 10 at all. Just purely based on Brad's never been good at a road course, and that team just never has the speed. And holy smokes, Chris Buescher could have won this race if things go a little differently for him. He was in position.
Well, to be fair, Brad is decent at Watkins Glen, but certainly not here. But that's especially with again, Buescher, I think, has been on the upswing the last couple weeks, other than obviously the COVID week. But he was on his lid at Charlotte, but still has run well. And Brad's starting to show signs that maybe they're starting to figure some stuff out too. I mean, they're certainly not contenders every week.
It's a long road, definitely a long road.
I think we underestimate, just because this is a new car, there was a lot not going right at Roush Fenway.
Yeah, that's a rebuild. When your favorite sports team rebuilds, that Roush team has bottomed out, and the first step to building back up is getting a Brad Keselowski in. So they are only on the come up at this point because they were rock bottom there for quite a while. So
Yep.
But very cool to see that, and I was kind of pulling for Chris to make a run, just for our sake.
I was so messed up at the end because like I want Suarez to win, but I'm always cheering for the guy in second, and Chris Buescher to get the win would have been great. And it's like, man.
Yeah. Well, how cool is that too? That those guys, it's been a long time, but people forget those guys won. But between the two of them, they won back-to-back Xfinity Series titles in 2015 and 2016. People forget how good they were in the Xfinity Series. Those were some really good years those two guys were having. So, pretty cool to see them duking it out so long. Dang, it's been 2015, 2016. You're talking 7 years plus since they've had their moment. So that was really cool.
Yep, very cool. Right. The Truck Series made their return to Sonoma this weekend, first time in quite a while. Carson Hocevar, injured, goes out, wins the pole, then wrecks, has to start in the back, and then had to be relieved by Suarez. I think, this race was a sign of what was to come on Sunday because Suarez looked really good in a car. Not that truck was a bad truck or anything, but to go out there and fill in and run as well as he did in this race.
Came back from 2 laps down to do it, too.
Yeah, right.
That was, that was impressive in its own right. So pretty stout run for them. And Kosovar, we finally figured out what was wrong with the dang guy.
Right.
Broken tibia, right?
Yeah.
So there is no way he's racing this weekend. I can't imagine. But that team, kudos to that team because they found a way to basically keep their playoff hopes alive because they've only got a couple of races left before the playoffs begin. So if they can hold above that cut line, even if he misses 1 week,
uninjured Carson Hocevar with a 6th place finish at Sonoma is a good day.
Yep. You take that every time.
So it sucks for him that he had to get out of the car, but they managed to, with Suarez in that car, they rallied to completely negate any penalty they would have in this situation.
Yes.
So I'm with you. Obviously he's going to start the race, I would assume, this weekend, but somebody else will jump in there and
I don't know. That's going to be hard, especially on the dirt.
And who are you going to get because most of your Cup guys, they're all on vacation this week.
Oh yeah, they're not coming in. But you look at it too. He's got basically 87 points to the good right now. If he can, man, he has time to heal up and make the playoffs. It's not out of the realm of possibilities.
Yeah,
so, that's definitely the goal for that team.
Not only that. If all he's got to do is get a win. And he's obviously threatened for it. So. Get back to some 1.5 miles and let him heal up for a couple weeks. And, I guess it sucks that he has to do this in the middle of, back-to-back weeks of Truck Series racing. And he couldn't have done it.
Usually they have a long.
Yeah, he couldn't have done it when they had a month off earlier in the season.
But if you look at it too, they get to Mid-Ohio. That's another race where he can be easily subbed. Knoxville's going to be tough and Nashville's going to be tough. But if they can get to Mid-Ohio where he can get subbed without losing too much ground, they might be able to make something work. So.
Yeah.
But what is that going to go down as you don't remember very many pole runs in the history of NASCAR. that might be in the top 10 all-time greatest pole runs ever.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Pretty cool.
Kyle Busch gets himself a win last start of the season for the Truck Series.
He saved it, Eric. He saved it.
Yep, 10 years is the winning streak.
Yep. Holy cow.
Yeah, and and Jamie Little asked him after the race, that was eating at Kyle. He had to get that win. This is the type of stuff Kyle is all about the stats, man.
Yes, he is.
All about the stats.
Yep, this was his last chance, and by God, we talked about it last week, Eric.
Yep.
By God, he did it. He pulled it off, and the great-looking truck, that Yahoo truck, was awesome looking,
it was
by
a nice-looking truck.
But yeah, that was...
felt like it was 1999, but...
Yep.
And then Yahoo was still had the money to advertise on a NASCAR car, but
yeah, pretty cool. That was a wild race, and KFB got it done, and dang, Wow.
Yeah, Stuart Friesen had a hell of a wreck on the front stretch right at the end.
Yeah.
A couple other trucks. And James, I wanted to ask, I don't understand how, I guess it's not really a question, but I don't understand how these road courses continue to get away with shoddy barriers when so many other tracks have had to put safer barriers in. I mean, we've been lax the last couple years as it is. I mean, we ran Gateway a couple weeks ago and didn't have safer barriers on the straightaways there. We don't have safer barriers on the straightaways at Indianapolis. We're already pushing it a little bit. And then these road courses, man, I mean, I guess I'll give them credit. It's a Jersey barrier, so it moves. So there's some give to it. But man, just seeing trucks hit concrete like that and then the angles that they were hitting. Yeah. I don't know, man. It bothers me that these road courses can get away with this stuff.
Yeah, it's especially in the truck series. It's there's pain to be had, but also I guess the Cup series too, with the way these cars are too.
Yeah, I mean, you go to any of these. I don't want to pick on Road America, but there's, I mean, just the places that just the way the barriers are at these places.
Yeah, I mean, Watkins Glen at one time had a.
Yeah,
I mean, had some really weird ones.
Yeah, and they finally put some safer barriers in out there, and they fixed a lot of their issues at Watkins Glen. I don't know. I guess it's really easy to say every time there's an accident, and we don't have cars hit there very often. But man, when they do, it's pretty obvious. It's a big hit. I mean, it ripped the whole side off of
that was a big
Friesen's truck.
Yep. Yeah, that was a big one.
So, I don't know. I had another thought, but I don't know where I was going with it. So,
well,
did you see the wreck in the Indy Lights at Road America? Speaking of,
I didn't see that. Well, what happened there?
So one of the Indy Lights hit a curb, hit the corner of a curb, popped the front end up in the air. The air caught underneath it, and it went head on into the fence and just.
I did see this. Yes. Yeah. Yep. I did see this.
Just another one of those things that just like, man, these road courses. I don't know.
Yep. Nope, I did see that one. Now that you mentioned it, I was like, wait a second. I thought I couldn't remember where I had seen that, but as soon as you started talking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I did see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like an air. When an Indy car gets in the air, it's a jet. Basically, is what it is.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it wasn't going very fast, and it didn't like catch the fence and rip around like we've seen, the actual Indy cars do versus the Indy Lights.
Right.
But so yeah, 60. Where to go? 60-second victory for Kyle Busch in the Truck Series. 165. NASCAR Camping World Truck Series races.
That is a 37.5% win rate, by the way.
Not bad.
Not bad.
I think this guy, I think this guy's gonna be pretty good, James. I think he's got a future.
If you go to 10 Kyle Busch truck races, 4 times he's gonna win, basically. Right. So that's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
So yeah. He's not as good in the Xfinity Series, only 28%, but
This was his series track debut at Pocono, Sonoma Raceway. Of course, we haven't raced the Truck Series here in quite a while.
Yep.
Jack Wood, highest finishing rookie in 16th place. 3 manufacturers have won the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series at Sonoma Raceway. Ford has 3 wins. Toyota and Chevrolet each have 1. And as mentioned, this is Kyle Busch's first NASCAR Camping World Truck Series win at Sonoma.
Eric, do you want to feel old?
Sure.
I got a stat.
I don't need help, but sure.
No. This completes Kyle Busch's 20th season in the Camping World Truck Series.
That's ridiculous.
Not full-time seasons or anything like that, but 20 seasons he's competed, obviously.
Right.
He's never raced.
Because there's a gap there at the
series.
beginning, right? Because he ran a few races and then they kicked him out.
Yeah, so if you do that, then you could add a couple of years if you wanted to do the math a little bit. But yeah, that would have been yeah, he started in 2001. Man, it's crazy. That's just crazy. I can't believe it. I can't believe he's been racing that long.
Yeah, and still got a few good years left in him.
Cripe, he's got another 10 or 15 if he wants them.
Yeah.
Jeez, he's only 37.
It's crazy.
Man.
James, we got some news yesterday as well. Prior to the Cup Series race, we learned the beginning, at least, of the 2023 NASCAR schedule. No big shock, I don't think. We're going back to L.A. for the Clash. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, Mr. Phelps kind of hinted at it, and with our buddy Bob in San Francisco a couple days earlier that it was probably going to happen, and didn't really say yes or no. And then Sunday we got the news. Yeah, not a surprise. It was a huge hit. So.
Yeah. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't do it. I mean,
Yeah,
I guess the only question would have been, would they do it somewhere else? But I mean, I think, with the market in LA, you're going to have good weather, and that stadium is, we talked about it a little bit before we did this race. That stadium is the floor is bigger than a lot of your NFL stadiums. There's more room there to build a bigger track, so you can get that full quarter mile in there.
Yep. I wonder if we'll see any differences next year. I'm just curious, but.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see. Obviously, I'm sure they learned some stuff, and we'll know the car a lot better as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, be interesting to see for sure.
Yep.
So, no surprise. I think we knew as soon as we raced this race this year, that we were coming back. So,
yep,
good deal.
Yeah, it was such a hit. There was no way it wasn't coming back. I just wonder, that I think the next step is, okay, we're going to get this on the schedule for 2023. Do we look at any other opportunities for it? You can't, like you said, you can't run New York in February.
Right.
But does that open the door for maybe an all-star race down the road in the summertime? I think that's probably where NASCAR's mind is thinking, especially how bad Texas has been. So.
Right. Yeah, they got to convince Marcus Smith to give up that Texas date now.
Yep.
Good luck with that. James, the Cup Series has an off weekend next weekend, and as a result, we're going to take a week off of the podcast next week. However, there's still action to be had. The Truck Series races next weekend at Knoxville on the dirt, and there's some other has-been series or something that's starting up too, right?
Eric, I figured out. So you and I were chatting before the podcast. I said, "Man, I have something that I know is going to irritate Eric," and I couldn't put my finger on what it was.
What's that?
I get 6 weeks of just irritating you with SRX. I am so excited.
Nice. Yeah. See, I'm in for it. I'm ready for it this year though. Like I gave in last year. I admitted that it was a success, and I'm looking forward to it this year.
It's a good running joke for us to have.
Right.
But honest to God, like if it would have been bad, I would have been like, yeah, okay, it was bad.
Right.
But it was really good. and honestly, like we can banter about it back and forth. But
if nothing else, at least I get to listen to Alan Bestwick again for 6 weeks.
Yeah, and it's just it's just fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, if
so
NASCAR did
fun.
the
We have
race,
a fun flag.
We have the fun flag, and then I get to yell at Paul Tracy through my TV again.
Yeah. Only through the TV though, not through Twitter because you're blocked.
Not through Twitter because I'm blocked. I just can't do anything there. But I get to watch my boy Smoke race, and we got some newcomers. Ryan Newman's racing. It's gonna be fun, man. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. Good deal.
New tracks.
Yep.
Good stuff.
So we do have, because we're off, we're going to make several picks this week. We're going to pick both the Truck Series at Knoxville and all 3 races at Nashville the following week. James, you beat me this week in our picks by a whole total of 1 point. Yeah. Good job there, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Geez.
So, as a result, I still lead by 46 points, which gives James first pick. And 4 races, James. You get to pick 4 races first. This is your chance to pull out ahead. So the Truck Series kicks things off this weekend with the Clean Harbors 150 at Knoxville, Iowa. This race was the definition of a cluster last year. Let's hope,
oh my God.
Let's hope we improve things this year, and the Truck Series drivers pull their heads out of their rear ends for one weekend to maybe be able to complete a race and not look like complete fools. However, I'm not optimistic. So, James, who do you got in the Truck Series at Knoxville?
So we're not gonna do SRX racing for picks, right?
No, we're not doing SRX racing.
I could use some points. Oh man,
nice.
Gosh, I don't even know who to pick on, honestly.
See, I'm ready for this. I have picks lined up through all, and I'm happy with my picks. And I even have backup picks that I'm happy with.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to do here. I'm gonna go with probably the best guy that I can. I guess the best guy I can pick here. Give me Ben Rhodes for this one. He won Bristol Dirt, so I'll take it. I'll take Ben Rhodes.
You're gonna go Ben Rhodes.
I'm gonna go with a recent Dirt winner to win this one.
I am going to hold on a second. Let me kill some time here and go back to my stats so I can tell you.
You picked, so Eric, just so you know, I would give you an idea here. We've only had one perfect race between all of our picks all season, and that was you, Ben Rhodes, Bristol Dirt, 60 total points.
There you go.
So there you go.
Let's see. I should have been prepared for this, but I am not. Camping World Truck Series.
Honestly, that race is the difference in our in our total points. Basically, you kicked my butt so bad that week.
So I am going with. Oh crap! Hold on, I clicked the wrong thing.
You're not going to go with the Dirt Car Master, Stuart Friesen?
No, I'm not going with Stuart Friesen. I believe I picked him last time. I'm going to go with the guy who finished second here last year. Austin Hill, by the way, was your winner the first time we ran here. But I'm going to go with another guy that runs pretty well on dirt. And I'm going to go with the KBM truck of Chandler Smith.
That's a good one, yes. Yep, that's good. Like that.
And then Nashville. We go to Nashville the following week. First weekend on NBC for the Cup Series and Xfinity Series. Truck Series will remain on Fox. It's the Rackley Roofing 200. Wow. The Rackley Roofing 200 at Nashville Super Speedway. James, who do you got in this one?
Oh, I need to see the entry list. Because I wanted to say
this is your fault, man. You wanted to take the week off.
I know.
So
I know.
Suck it up, man.
I know. I'm not confident that Ryan Preece is running in this race, or I would take him. I know that John Hunter Nemechek will be in this race, and since I get to pick first for 2 Truck Series races, I feel like I need to pick John Hunter.
There you go.
So I'll take John Hunter again. Sorry, I've taken him every opportunity I've been able to take him. I've taken him.
Maybe if you watch some Truck Series races, you'd know some other drivers.
I watch enough, but I can't really. I kind of blew my Ben Rhodes pick. He might have been a better Nashville pick than Knoxville, but that's fine.
Yeah, he could have been. I am going to go with. Where did he end up last year? Ryan Preece won this race last year. I'm going to go again with last year's second place finisher. He was my backup pick for Knoxville, but I didn't have to use him there, so I'm using him here. I'm going Todd Gilliland.
Ooh, that's a good one. Is that the first Todd Gilliland picked of the season?
I am pretty sure it is. Yeah.
Wow. Todd Gilliland, first time he's been picked this season.
He was good in both these races last year, as well as many others.
He will be good again.
Yeah. I will tell you my backup pick was Zane Smith for this one.
Yeah. Zane Smith burned me so bad the other week. I'm having a hard time coming back. Oh, that's funny.
NASCAR Xfinity Series, Tennessee Lottery 250 at Nashville Super Speedway. Who's your pick on this one, James?
I'm going to take some JRM speed because I'm playing catch up here. And I'm going to take Mr. Justin Allgaier.
So you took my first pick there. That was my pick. So give you that one, and I'm going to go with my backup. And I'm going with Joe Gibbs Racing, and I'm going to go with Brandon Jones as my pick here.
Oh, wow. Nice pick. He just won an ARCA Series race.
Yeah.
This weekend. I can't remember where they were at, but I know Brandon Jones won the race. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Then an NASCAR Cup Series. It is the Ally 400 at Nashville Super Speedway. Who you got for this one, James? You going Hendrick?
Boy, I've been going Hendrick heavy a little bit. I feel like I'm making a mistake not taking the Toyota, but I'm gonna go with a. Oh boy, give me William Byron for this one.
That was my backup pick here.
I will take Mr. Byron. He's due to have a good run, so give me that. I feel silly not taking Kyle Larson, but we'll see how that plays out.
For the third time this season, I believe that is correct, I am going to pick Ross Chastain.
There you go. Yep. I was eyeballing Ryan Blaney for this race.
So Ross Chastain last year, I believe, finished second here in the 42 car. So I would assume he will run better in his current situation.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
And therefore, you can't get much better than second.
Yep, that's probably the fastest Chevy team out there. So
yeah,
I don't think that's a bad pick at all.
There you go. Those are our picks for the next 2 weeks, James.
Woo! 4 races we had to pick.
Yeah, that's. I don't think we've ever done that.
No, I don't think so. Not quite like that. Plus, I got I finally did the Eric. Well, we have done something similar before. I did the Eric Young cheat of being behind for 2 weeks worth of.
Yeah.
So I got the extra race there.
There you go.
Remember when we were doing double headers and
Yep.
dang it, you got every one of them, you son of a gun.
Yep.
You killed me at Michigan. That was the end of the season.
Yes,
I won't forget that. I will never forget that.
I definitely like our setup better now because even, I mean, you have to be way back to not be able to come clawing back because of the point situation. Whereas before, you know, it was one point a race, and so you'd get behind a couple of races, you just couldn't catch back up.
Yeah.
I thought, man, you were coming for me this week when I had trouble with who the heck did I have picked? I had Kurt. When Kurt was struggling in that truck in the cup race, I'm like, man, he is coming for me. And I thought you had Logano, and
I thought you had Truex. So
I'm like, man, Logano's getting all those points. He's not going to win the race, but he's collecting all the stage points. And then I find out you had Kyle Busch. And
he spun out. Yeah, terrible, just terrible.
Speaking of terrible things, James, how did fantasy go this week?
Well, actually, we tied. So between both our picks in our league, I only beat you by 1 point total. So think of it that way. But our top three. So my run of wins is over. 2. I ended up with 2 wins, and that was the end of my streak. However, there were some rumblings going on that Ranger had maybe lost a step. It wasn't me. I didn't say it. I didn't say that. That's just what I was told. And I cussed out the person that said it because dang it, Ranger kicked our butts this week.
Yeah, he did.
So the champ is here, number 1, with 205 points. Nobody even close to him. Barron Speedway 180, Fast to the Grass 155, and then Eric, you and I right there 153, tied for 4th. Overall standings. With that win, Ranger jumps from I believe 7th or 8th to 4th.
He's coming for you.
Yeah, he's coming for me. I still got over 100 points on him, so I'm going to try to keep a buffer. I'm glad we got an off week. Green Eggs and Hamlin still leads. He is up on Fast to the Grass, and I am still 3rd. It's a tight battle on top. I'm only 30 points behind first, so just to give you a picture. And then Ranger lurking. He's going to come in and steal the whole dang thing. This is just the first step in, crap.
Yep.
He did it again.
Well, so. He picks light at the beginning of the season, saves all the good drivers for the end, and he's going to come and smoke us when we're all out of good drivers.
He's coming. You know, I made a run at him, what was it, 2 seasons ago? I gave it everything I had, and I thought I was going to catch him, and then, no, that might have been last year, and then it all fell apart.
Yeah, last year you were real cocky that you were coming.
I was trying. I was trying, you know, it's just all fodder for the show.
Right.
I do it for the show. I'm not really that character in real life.
Oh, no, not at all. James, you got any shout-outs this week?
I saw that our buddy Lefty was aggregated. He did a mock-up of a possible Dodge.
That was sweet.
14 car, and then I saw he got aggregated by aggregated websites, and that thing was all over the place. So that was pretty cool. I love seeing that kind of stuff. When Derek Winter, our buddy there, he had a comment that got aggregated one time. So that's pretty funny. Yeah, that was a sweet looking car that Lefty did.
Yeah. I remember my shout out. So last week I was scheduled to go down to Berlin Raceway for the Money in the Bank 150, which rained out on Wednesday night, was rescheduled for Thursday night. Looked like I was going to be able to make it, but family stuff kept me from making the trip down. Great race, by the way. Speaking of which, William Byron gets the win there. I'm hoping to go back for the 250 lapper after the August Michigan race. So we'll see about that. But anyway, because I didn't go, I decided to spend a little bit of money, James, and get a year subscription to Flow Racing, which broadcasts the race live. And it has become my new favorite thing in the whole world because
they got good stuff.
There is so much racing. I sat there and watched the $1 million race at the million at Eldora, the Eldora Million, late into the evening on Thursday night. Or Wednesday night, or I don't remember what the hell night it was. I think it was Wednesday night. It was Thursday night. It was right after the Money in the Bank race. And then I'm watching Bowman Gray weekly races. I mean, there's enough stuff on there. Watch some of the NASCAR Penny Series, which is a spectacular series. So it's a little pricey. It's $150 if you get the year subscription. It's $30 a month if you don't. So you're saving quite a bit on the year subscription. But man, if you like racing, you like short track stuff, there's all kinds of great short track racing all over the country. The All-Star Circuit of Champions, Sprint Cars, broadcast all their races on there. Lots of good stuff. So check that out. Flow Racing. It's on the Apple App Store. I'm sure it's on Android and all that. So
and they've got other sports too. If you're,
yes.
you know, like I've seen some stuff on there from like track and field and other things. Like it's kind of niche type stuff, but yeah, the local short track stuff they're doing is really, really good.
And they're not sponsoring us. This is just me saying how great it is.
No, they're just a good product. Yeah, if we see good products, we're not afraid to plug them, whether we're getting a handout or not.
Did you get a chance to listen to the 2 parts of the Jeremy Mayfield on Dale Jr. Download, James?
I only was able to get the snippets, but that was some gold.
It was really good. A really good podcast.
Man, I remember that Jeremy Mayfield story being like it led Pardon the Interruption on ESPN because it was so wild. Yeah,
and you know, I mean, I've now listened to a couple big podcasts with him on it. I still think he's not telling the full truth. I think there's stuff he's leaving out, and I think he's a little more innocent in his story than he actually was along the whole process. But just a lot of insight into everything that went down, and you know, I don't think he's 100% lying. I think that there's a lot of truth to what he's talking about too. So I certainly wouldn't put it past. You know, old Brian France being having a vendetta against him and pulling some stuff. So I don't know. It's an interesting story. If you guys haven't had a chance to, Dale Jr. Download the last 2 weeks. It's the longest podcast they've had in history of the download, and it is worth every minute. Yeah. That
could be like if Hollywood were to write a script like that.
For sure.
It was so wild. The mother-in-law thing is in. Man.
And I mean, just the stuff that Mayfield went through. I mean, Mayfield was a punk, and he admittedly was a punk. You know, he realizes now that he did not go about things the right way, and he burned bridges, and he had enemies as a result. And some things just fell, you know, a certain way just without his knowledge with him being a punk. But I mean, just his relationship with the second part talks about his relationship with Rusty Wallace and the move on Earnhardt at Pocono to get his win, and all that stuff, and the things that went down with Ray Evernham, and when Aaron Crocker and Evernham were a thing and nobody knew they were, but everybody knew that they were, and all that stuff. Man, it's just if you've been a part of NASCAR for a long time, you've likely forgotten a lot of those stories that we kind of all knew parts of back then, and just to hear it from the horse's mouth. And Junior does a good job. You know, Mike Davis does a good job. Neither of them are there to interrogate Mayfield. So, you know, they don't challenge him a whole lot on stuff. But, you know, that's not what you're expecting going into that anyway. They're not. You know, it's not 2020. You know, it's a NASCAR podcast. So, but good stuff, worth a listen. And as always, Dirty Mo Media is doing some cool stuff over there. So, worth checking out. James, how about a Jackass? You got a Jackass corner this week?
Yeah, a little bit of an F1 nugget.
Okay.
Ferrari. Yeah. Just whatever the heck happened to those guys. I mean, I thought for sure they were gonna be able to challenge for the world championship, but holy smokes, both cars out. That was. I was like, oh man, you guys completely lost the season on this race. So that was a clear JA for me. I was like, yep, the whole organization gets one.
If it wasn't for the teardown each week, I probably wouldn't know what was going on in Formula One. But
I keep checking in. I can't help myself.
The IndyCar race was great. I'm continuing to watch those. Poor Jimmy Johnson though, man, and maybe we'll call Jimmy Johnson one of our jackasses. The poor dude just can't catch a freaking break. Early in the race, spins through the gravel, ends up down a lap, and just whatever. But my jackass, James, I hinted at it earlier. I got to go Carson Hocevar, man. You go out and win the pole with a broken foot, and you're in perfect spot. Start on the pole, run some laps off. Get yourself to a good position where you can do the driver swap, and then you go and frickin' wreck it and have to start in the back. Carson Hocevar, I love you, man, but you're my jackass this week. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, he probably would have had to have gone to the back anyway, I would assume.
Right.
I have no idea. But yeah, that was, like I said, that's a memorable pole run. Yeah,
such a moment, and then he goes and blows it.
Yeah, one of the great runs ever, and then, that whole thing. I forgot that also in the truck race, Matt DiBenedetto just pile drove Stuart Friesen at one point, which was another thing we didn't mention. But I mean, he took out 2 sets of tires, and it was anyway, that truck race was good.
Not only did he take out 2 sets of tires, he hit the tires so hard they rolled over the other set of tires.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I've never seen. We saw Tony Stewart put Brian Vickers through those, or Brian Vickers put Tony Stewart through those tires.
No, Brian Vickers put Tony Stewart in the tires,
but
and he climbed up on top of them.
Never have we seen the tires hit quite like that in turn 11 at Sonoma. So
I remember that race came back from commercial break, and I yelled out, "What the hell happened?" Because he was sitting on top of the tires.
Yeah, I think I saw it come back from commercial break. And it's like, oh, where's Vickers at?
Yeah, and I was like, because back then I was tuned into the road courses extra hard because he always had a chance to win, and then I was like, what the hell happened?
That one was such a good one because Tony almost like applauded him for it.
He had it coming, and he knew it.
Yep.
Yeah, he knew it. And did you enjoy Tony Stewart talking about how he would get back at people during the broadcast? By the way, that was so.
I love listening to Tony. Tony's an interesting dude. I mean, he's especially now that he's out of the car. He doesn't have any. I mean, he never sugarcoated stuff to begin with, but now he's got no reason to.
It was just very interesting. Gosh.
Yeah.
Man.
I love Tony. The more we can get Tony on TV. I mean, I love the fact that Fox had him on TV because we had him on TV. I miss Tony. I miss Tony at the track.
Yep.
He's great for our sport. He's again, he doesn't hold back. And then I guess another little shout out, James, I shared it with you earlier today, but Tony Stewart's YouTube channel has some behind the scenes footage of him doing the Fox broadcast at COTA.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty entertaining. Just if nothing else, just to watch Boyer behind the scenes because Boyer's such a freaking screwball. And, and of course, those two are friends and whatever, and so that was fun to watch them two together. And I love that behind the scenes stuff. I'll watch that stuff all day long, especially the NASCAR stuff. So,
yeah, it was good. I saw that too, and it was it's just good stuff.
James, where can people shout you out if they want to hit you up during the off week?
Well, if you want to watch SRX with me, at James Cush on Twitter.
You can find me at TSuperspeedway on Twitter. You can find the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/TheSuperspeedway. Our website is thesuperspeedway.com. You can find old episodes of the podcast, show notes, links to articles we discussed, past race coverage, photos, and much, much more. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud. Wherever you found us today, we hope you subscribe and continue to listen for new episodes every week. The Truck Series heads to Knoxville Raceway this weekend to go back to the dirt. Cup Series is off. We'll be back following the Cup Series and actually all 3 series in action at Nashville. Off next week. We'll be back the following week to break it all down and talk about everything else that comes up. Until then, everybody, let's go racing.